Good morning. In this series about how real estate compares to other investment classes, I say investment classes in quotations maybe because I don't think that they're all investments, and we'll talk about that today. I've had a lot of requests to talk about cryptocurrency. Now, I was going to leave cryptocurrency to the end of the series, but I'll talk about it this week here. And as I'm trying to do in this series, I'm not trying to just bash something. I'm trying to see the validity of something and the value that it does have, and then compare it to what I believe is the value of real estate. And I admit that I'm very biased. I love real estate. I think it's a phenomenal investment for most people. And at the end of the series, I'll talk about how anyone can get in at any price point, because one of the biggest negatives of real estate, and actually this applies to crypto right now, because crypto you can get in with a few pennies. Really, you can buy a very inexpensive cryptocurrency. Whereas with real estate, people have the idea that you have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars to invest in, and that's not true. It is true in certain ways, but there are ways to invest in real estate as well, and I'll show you those ways as well, okay? Not for pennies. You're not going to get into investment for pennies, although my daughter got into an investment for 20 bucks, but that's a little bit of a different story. I'll save that for later. Let's talk about cryptocurrency. What is cryptocurrency? For those who don't understand, I'm not going to get into it very much, but I'm going to say that I would say that cryptocurrency is not an investment, generally speaking, the way I define an investment. The way I define an investment, and this is different than a lot of other people, is that an investment pays you money on a consistent basis. If something does not pay you on a consistent basis, the reason I don't consider it an investment is because that's the definition of speculation, where you make money only if it rises in price. In real estate, my real estate properties don't have to rise in price for me to make money. Now, I hope they rise in price, and I make more money if they rise in price, but even if they don't, I make money by renting them out. I make money in the principal pay down from the mortgage, so things can even lower in price, and I still have more equity in the building at the end of the day. And then that's one thing that I love about real estate. Crypto is actually has some really unique aspects to it, but I'm going to talk about speculative ventures. Now, here's the things that I like about cryptocurrency, is I think has value. Cryptocurrency is a valid technology. Okay, it's a valid technology that's coming our way. If you don't like it, too bad. It's coming our way. It's something that we have to deal with in the future, and it's technology based, which means it can move very quickly. You can get in a very low price point. That's a value for anything. Any investment class that you can get in at a low price, although it can be a disadvantage psychologically as well, because usually what we save up for, we research a little bit more. When something is very cheap, we don't put as much time and energy into understanding it, okay? And people that only have a few pennies to rub up together are typically not going to make the best investment choices, generally speaking, okay? So what are some other advantages of cryptocurrency? It's valid. You can get into low price point. Something that's cool about cryptocurrencies is how quickly you can trade it. So very much like stocks, you can trade these on exchanges fairly quickly. To me, those are the biggest advantages. Now, a lot of cryptocurrency is kind of considered, especially Bitcoin, is considered a way to kind of screw over banks or screw over governments. Like you guys aren't taking care of us, so we're going to do something outside of the system. I don't think that this is a valid reason to work with cryptocurrency, and this is the reason. While the government cannot control these public ledgers in every single way or in every form, that there's ways to get around that from the government, where we can have our cryptocurrencies protected in some ways and people don't know what we have. That's true right now. What is not true is that the government can't figure out ways to control the flow of this. So there's going to be an exchange, and this exchange, so where people trade in this cryptocurrency, that can be controlled. And there are other ways that the government control. They can shut down internet. They can affect internet and how the internet flows in a nation. China's famous for this and being very good. When I was living in China, people didn't have access to things like Facebook. They were just shut off. People couldn't access Facebook. You couldn't access certain sites. So governments can control certain things. And I think that there's this lack of understanding of how much the government actually can control if they're serious about something, okay? So there's that side of it. My biggest reason for believing that real estate is an investment and cryptocurrency is not an investment is that cryptocurrency is based almost solely on speculation. If it goes up, I make money. If it goes down, I lose money. And this is another way of talking about speculative ventures, is talking about it's the hope and pray strategy. I hope and pray that everything turned out okay, that I bought at the right time, or that the right things happen in government that allow cryptocurrency to take over the world, or this specific cryptocurrency to take over the world, because then I make money. And if that doesn't happen, if my prayers aren't answered, I lose. And that's a problem for me. Okay. Now here's one thing, and I've got people that I care about that are very involved in cryptocurrency, very intelligent people that I like and I respect. Okay. So I'm not just bashing it. And one point that they've brought up is, well, Mark, you talk about how stocks, if they're dividend paying stocks, then they can kind of be considered an investment. But if they're just buy and hold stocks that they can go up or down, then it's based on speculation. And I go, yeah. And they said, well, with cryptocurrency, you can do that. There are cryptocurrencies that you can buy, and then you can rent that cryptocurrency out. And actually, this is an advantage that cryptocurrency has over things like gold. Gold you can't rent to somebody. Nobody wants to rent your gold. Nobody's going to come and say, can I borrow that for a week and I'll pay you some money for it? You're not making a return that way with gold. And whereas with cryptocurrency, you can rent it out. You can lend it out to people, and they will pay you a return for that. The difficulty with this is that, again, so comparing real estate to cryptocurrency or stocks that do this, that make this return, the returns in cryptocurrency is based on the value of the cryptocurrency. So we use Bitcoin as an example. Bitcoin, just in the last couple of months, as of this recording, just in the last couple of months, it's swung back and forth between like about $40,000 and $65,000 for one Bitcoin. That is extremely volatile. That is extremely volatile. And so based on the value of that, you're also getting a return based on that value. Whereas with real estate, when I purchase a property, if we have an inflationary market, if money is devalued consistently over time because governments print more, then I'm always getting more money out of that investment, year on year, decade by decade. I paid more. Even if the investment falls, so I'm purchasing a commercial building right now, even if that commercial building, the value of that building falls by 50%, if I lose half of it, of the value of the building, still, I'm going to make the same rent. Same rent. Not only that, in 5 years, in 10 years, as we find new tenants, other things happen, that rent will increase. So that's a very significant difference. Now, here's another difference. What is cryptocurrency backed by? What is it based on? What is it? Well, people say, well, it's not a fiat currency. Well, basically, it is a fiat currency. Cryptocurrency is and even cryptocurrency that says it's based on something, that says it's based on US dollars or based on something else, often is not. Often is not. When you look at the audits that are done on these companies, they're not backing it one-to-one consistently, okay? That aside, there's a lot of corruption in cryptocurrency, which is another disadvantage to crypto, generally speaking. And I know that I'm putting I'm making general statements. Okay, there are a lot of different cryptocurrencies that operate a little differently. Another thing is that, again, gold is a commodity. Real estate is a commodity. You can buy a piece of bread, and in a high inflationary market, if you were in Zimbabwe in 2003 and you bought a loaf of bread, that bread is holding value of some kind, because you buy it for $1 and it's worth $2 tomorrow because the inflation is going nuts. Okay, with cryptocurrency, it's not tied to it's not a commodity, and usually it's not even tied to a commodity. So one of the difficulties there is that it doesn't have intrinsic value. I've heard that anything that has intrinsic value is something that if you drop on your foot, it hurts. So you drop a gold bar on your foot, it hurts. If you drop art on your foot, it could hurt. If you drop if you drop real estate on your foot, it hurts a lot, okay? But if it's solid, if it's a commodity of some sort, it's very difficult for that thing, whatever it is, to drop to having zero value. It's very difficult for that to happen. It can, but it's very difficult. Think about this. Think about real estate. Thinking about owning a building, and it's solidly built on some land. When is that land and building going to be worth zero? Whew, it's tough. It's tough to find a situation where that happens. Okay, typically they're rising, but they're in more demand every year. There's no more real estate being made right now. It's very difficult to make real estate, right? Whereas with a cryptocurrency, with a stock, those things can go to zero value. That's happened a lot in both fields, crypto as well as stocks. And so I'm gonna share a quick story with you. I've shared this before, but it's good. It keeps things in perspective for me consistently. And I'm going to talk about something called tulip mania, what is known as tulip mania now. This has happened in Holland. It happened in the 17th century. And tulip bulbs came from Turkey, and they went up in value. This is a really novel thing. And this is a commodity. This is a tangible thing. If you drop the bulb on your foot, at least you'll feel it, right? And so people were buying and selling futures in these tulip bulbs, and people were speculating on them to the point where somebody could mortgage their property, their entire home, what could be the value of one of these tulip bulbs if they were an expensive bulb. Now, you know the end of the story, because a lot of speculative investments, again, I'm using investments in quotations there, fall to no value. And tulips fell to almost no value. People lost everything, and there was a huge problem. Now, I want to share another story. And that is the gold rush. You can talk about the Yukon, you can talk about San Francisco in the 1849, you can talk about a bunch of different situations where there's a new technology, or there's a new commodity, or there's a large cache of something found, and people go after it. I've read many books on gold rushes because I'm fascinated with the psychology of the gold rush and how people get so excited about it. And what happens is people get excited about the idea, but who makes money consistently in a gold rush? The people who make consistent money in a gold rush are not the people who are mining for gold. There are very few of those people who do well. Most people who do well in a gold rush are people who are part of the support industry. They're not mining. They're selling the shovels and the pickaxes and the land for these prospectors to come. Those are the people that make money. In the stock market, do you know who does the best consistently? If you look at the Forbes top 400 list of the 400 wealthiest Americans, you'll find that consistently, if somebody's made their money in stocks, almost without, there are a few exceptions. On a list of the 400 wealthiest Americans, a few exceptions to the rule that people who make money in stocks are the support industry. In the Forbes 400 list, I went and it looked like there were 7 individuals that are billionaires from cryptocurrency. And all of them have made their money not by mining it, not by speculating on it, but by building the support industry for that. And so as this psychological movement of excitement happens and everyone wants to get into crypto, or 2000, remember the late 90s with tech stocks, or what you can name your poison. There have been many speculative bubbles as long as there have been people. But as you look into the research of those, people get excited about them and lose their shirts, most of them. A few people get rich, most people lose their shirts. And the people who have the support industry do really well. So here's my suggestion. And I'm going to talk about business a little bit later. This is probably going to be one of my last parts of this series, because I think business can outdo real estate. Business is the one investment class that outdoes real estate consistently. But it's very different and has its own disadvantages. If you want to get into crypto, if you want to get into stocks, do it. Do your research. Make sure that you're understanding what you're doing. And here's the idea. Create a business out of it. Because if you can support this fervor that is going on in our culture right now, in our society, you will often make far more supporting it than in actually speculating with your hard-earned dollars, okay? That's all I'll say about that. I talked about real estate and the benefits of it compared to stocks, and that kind of applies in many ways to cryptos as well. There's a little bit of tentativeness in producing something like this, because a lot of people really get excited about crypto. It's almost a religion in some ways. And I'm not trying to deface it. I'm not trying to say that this is horrible. It's got its purpose. And like I said, if you really know what you're doing with crypto, if you really know what you're doing with stocks, you can make money at it. If you really know what you're doing with anything, you can make money at it. With bubblegum or cards or old vehicles, whatever it is, if you know what you're doing, you can make money at it. Most of the time, though, the people who do best are doing it as a business. And when I finish off the series, I'm going to talk about real estate as a business as well, because I believe that's where people do best in real estate as well. Enjoy your week. You've got this.